Mitch Lewis took a couple of really strong grabs. They just couldn't finish off their work. I think they kicked 2 or 3 goals 10 in that quarter. So hopefully they got their kicking boots on and don't have the yips this quarter. Expecting Collingwood to come back strongly this period with the wind.
3 goals 10 for the Hawks in that term. So we get started here in the 5th period. And the Pies pretty keen to move it forward. Nice little bit of candy sold there by Ollie Henry, who's played a little bit on the ball in these later stages. Lynch there for the Hawks. Handball batted down by Poulter, who goes in pretty hard after the tackle. Have away a free kick. On the Pie and Phillips. Advantage paid. Hawks come down the line. That's a good mark pulled in up on the wing there for Hawthorn.
Callow.
Really nice mark from Callow. A little bit of dash now as well for the Hawks as they try and move it forward.
Good luck here, Joel, with some of the names.
A low kick inside the forward 50.
They've changed the squads over a little bit.
So the Hawks have gone for the second side here. We had basically the same Hawthorn side for the first 4 quarters. Collingwood with their some of their VFL players chipping in here in their 3rd term, but Hawthorn have now switched it up completely.
That's a familiar face to Hawks fans, kicking the ball in, Michael Hartley.
Yeah, of course, he was on Collingwood. He was a rookie with Collingwood, and then he went to Essendon in the VFL as ended up a top-up player and played some good footy there, and then back to Hawthorn, and now back to Collingwood where it all started. Jalen Thorpe goes long, and that is a really nice mark from Jekka.
It's exciting to see. So good to see some of these VFL boys out there strutting their stuff. Be really important for them in their career and their development. But great to see Emerson Jekka pull down a contested mark like that. Give him a lot of confidence. Hopefully he can go back and slot at the big man.
Had the glove on in the intra-club a couple of weeks ago. I'm a bit disappointed he's not still rocking it, to be honest. He starts the kick right. It curves, not enough. The Fraser Gehrig style piece of accessory.
Yeah, I think he had an injured finger or hand he was carrying out.
I think on the right hand he's got a couple of the fingers taped up.
I'm just hearing news through that unfortunately Isaac Quainer suffered a concussion earlier on in this game, and that means with the protocols that he'll miss their proper hit out next week. So for the Pies?
Yeah, if we gave you the bum steer on that earlier, we are going to blame the Collingwood Twitter account. So the official Collingwood page said that he was all okay, and then retweeted the own tweet and said, oh, actually, he's got concussion and he's going to miss. So
I don't think too serious by the sounds of that, but with the protocols now, which I think is a really good move, he'll take it easy and be right to go, hopefully, in round 1.
Sounds as though he was up and on the bench and sort of high-fiving with teammates after the incident, which looked pretty innocuous. I mean, there didn't look to be a great deal in it. Not some awful heavy hit or anything like that. And he's a pretty tough customer as well. He's Quainer. Nice mark from Murphy in defence for the Pies. Sends it up toward the wing. Can't be pulled in by Henry. And it's going to be tossed back in on the wing.
Maxwell down on the boundary.
Actually, it's going to be a free kick all the way back down at half forward for...
Yeah, I think the umpire just wasn't happy with a bit of back chat.
Jack Saunders will take it. He'll drop it on the boot to full forward. Big punch there from Hartley. You know, he's such a stout defender. Murphy inside defensive 50 for the Pies. Tumbles it into the centre. Oh, strong tackle. That's really good stuff from Henry. Locks the footy up in the middle of the ground. He's anything like his brother, Ollie Henry. He'll do a little bit of everything.
Love to see that from your younger players. Really good tackle technique, taking the hit, taking it to ground. Shown some really good signs, Henry, today.
Lynch still battling away in the ruck here for Hawthorn. 3 games, 4 seasons at Collingwood. Made the switch to the Hawks in the off-season. Phillips, another former Pie, who's involved in this passage. Shields' kick won't quite stay in. Oh, Will Derek Egg-Molesty Smith was able to keep it in. That was a nifty bit of work. He sent it down the line. And it was cut off, though, for the Hawks by Fiona O'Hara, the Irish recruit on a 2-year deal, coming to the club from the Gaelic and rugby union background. shown some pretty promising signs. Roscoe's kick turned over to Howe. He shoots it inside the forward 50, picked up on the half volley by Sarong. Brother of the Rising Star winner, Caleb lays the tackle there, should be rewarded and is.
Great to see young players staying in the game like that. Drop the ability to take possession, but stayed involved. Go back and have his first shot on goal for the Hawks.
His brother kicked goal of the year last season, and Jai Sarong loads up here for his first in the Hawks colours and just fades right to left. A little bit taller and rangier than Caleb.
Yep. Yeah, he's a big unit. He's obviously still growing and filling out, Caleb. So, yeah, he's that medium size, hard matchup.
So the Hawks with 9 goals, 22 now, 11 straight behinds for Hawthorn.
31 shots to 26. You feel like it's been a game of two halves. Collingwood dominating and make the most of it on the scoreboard early, and then the Hawks have really owned the last couple of periods, we're calling them, I think today, that in the early stages of the fifth, playing 6 all up today.
All out toward the boundary line, toward the former Saint Ed Phillips. It's on the list for Box Hill. So out there, the Box Hill players, Ed Phillips, Fergus Green, the former Bulldog, Louis D'Angelo, Lachlan Wine, Jalen Thor, James Blank, Mitchell Struck, as well as James Parsons, the former Cats, Callum Porter and Vincent Aducci, all out there for Hawthorn. For Collingwood, Sam Glover, Campbell Hustwaite, Michael Hartley, Callan Wellings, Derek Igmalesi Smith and Jacob Booth, their VFL listed players that have been named for this one. 17 in all between the two sides. Bench in ruck. Callum Brown's been busy since making his arrival into the game. You see the sky's darkening toward the town end, and that's a really good mark pulled in inside the forward 50 for the Hawks.
Jackson Callow again.
He's been prominent.
Originally, Tassie boy, went and he actually trained with Hawthorn a couple of pre-seasons ago, acted on his feedback, went over and played with Norwood in the SANFL and had developed and matured so much that ended up on the Hawks list midway through last year.
So Callow starts it right, and he finally breaks the drought for Hawthorn. After 11 straight behinds, the Hawks are back on the board.
Finally. Great reward for effort. It was a really good contested mark. Obviously knows his way around goal. He's been a forward in his junior days and so far in the state leagues. Norwood and Box Hill pulled it down, juggled it. The easiest kick into the wind, but managed it really nicely. Started it out to the right and curled it back in. Give him some confidence. He loved it too.
As you would.
Boys got around him. It's good to see. It's been played in a really good spirit, this game. No one's taken a backward step, but been a little bit of feeling in it.
Yeah, certainly early there was. The breeze has picked up throughout and maybe some frustrations crept in with goal kicking at times, but for the most part it's been played very sportingly, even though there has been plenty of physicality and we haven't wanted in that sense. Kelly keeps it in along the boundary line for Collingwood. Wise fans will be pretty keen to see him get a run at it. Fight for the football on the line. Arlo Draper's among it all. Highly touted youngster out of South Adelaide. I was traded up to pick him in the third round of last year's draft. Almost a dangerous tackle there from Shields, who did enough to make sure he didn't throw Hustwaite over into the fence. 39 points, the margin of Collingwood, who've only kicked the 1 goal since we got to essentially half-time in this game, so the end of the third period when their A-side, so to speak, was out there. Since that point, Hawthorn's been able to bang on 4 goals, 13. So you see the way that the game has changed in the interim. Murphy to take it for the Pies. Sends them long to half forward. Oh, Cameron and Kelly ended up spoiling each other. That wasn't ideal at all. And D'Angelo ends up with the foot of the pack for the Hawks. Burrowing his way through. Shields tries to extricate it and does. Cray jams it on the boot for the Pies inside the 50. Nice takedown low from Begg to try and wrench it free and move it forward for the Pies. Poulter's in there inside the arc. A free kick here for some holding on. It'll be Thorpe who'll take it. One of the Box Hill products for the Hawks. Nervous kick across the back 50 and can't find Lynch.
It's been a little bit scrappy. That first 3 quarters of this game was played with really high intensity and high skill, but more of the younger, less experienced players out there, a bit of fatigue creeping in. It's just hasn't been as open, hasn't been as free-flowing and high-scoring as probably what the first 3 quarters were.
Lynch tried to go on the outside of the boot. McRae a handball back to Callum Brown, who kicks to full forward. He was looking in the goal square there for Ash Johnson, but Thorpe was there to cut it off for the Hawks. To Howe, deftly touches it on over the top to Phillips. The winger offers plenty of dash. He sends it long up the line. Mark not being able to be taken there by Lockie Wind. Over and for a throw in. A couple of former Dogs among the VFL contingent for Hawthorn. Fergus Green, one of them. Callum Porter also. James Parsons, the ex-Cat, is out there as well. So there's a bit of AFL listed experience among those Box Hill players that are out there for the Hawks this afternoon. Here's Jekka, handball off quickly. Shoving on the boot was Parsons. Fergus Green tries to just slap it back into play, but it gets through for a rushed score.
Good to see some of those players getting an opportunity in today's game. Obviously, Sam Mitchell coaching Box Hill last year, coached all those boys, and they'd be keen to impress him out here today.
Green was one who was hoping to maybe get a reprieve. It's been a couple of years the Dogs, kicked 30 goals for Box Hill in the VFL last season, the Sandhurst product. All off hands and over for a throw-in.
It's been such a strong alignment over so many years, over 20 years now, that Hawthorn Box Hill alignment for both clubs. It's worked really, really well in terms of club success, but also the amount of players that have found themselves on the Hawthorn list after starting their journey at Box Hill.
Now the amount of players that have found themselves coaching Hawthorn after starting at Box Hill, because you only have to look to the very top of Hawthorn to find a great example. Exactly what that pathway can provide. They have been such a force in the VFL for so long. Plenty of great players coming through that pathway. Ball with the Hawks across half forward. Sent forward by the former Dog in Porter, but it's taken by Murphy. Just slams the Pies on the breeze up toward half forward. Numbers there. Hardwick at the back is Phillips. Towing the boundary line dangerously, so was Porter, trying to get his kick away. Callum Brown's there for the Pies. Handball to McRae. Deft little pass inside the 50, low down, the mark has been paid. Jacob Booth with it, I reckon. Wasn't a number 2 named for Collingwood, so that really doesn't help us.
Definitely not Jordan De Goey.
It's definitely not Jordan De Goey.
Resting those ribs on the sideline, I think. He's got a few more weeks.
A little bit less ink than Jordan De Goey. So the Pies with only the 1 goal here in this term, and that one's missed away to the right. Good score. Just waiting for the fans to find the footy. Someone thought they might have been making a runner for the freeway there with a new ball.
Little souvenir.
Pies not having that. Shields inside the defensive 50 for Hawthorn, turns it over. He's got decidedly scrappier. Pies with a chance to send it to full forward. Sit up here for Kelly, who just tries to provide some pressure. That was a nice little paddle work there from Lewis D'Angelo, who had to go tunnel ball style to try and force the footy forward. The kick there from Harrison Harvey's cut off in defence for the Hawks. Hardwick on the last line. He's going to find Phillips. 5 years at the Saints for Ed Phillips. Sends it high up the line. Oh, Jecker, a big rise. Couldn't pull it in. Murphy's been in everything here in this third term for the Pies. Working through the traffic there for Hawthorn. Doing a nice job was Aducci, who's part of their train-on program this pre-season. Collingwood's earned a free kick across half-back through Poulter.
Just a little bit overzealous there, Ned Long. Had a couple of really good moments there, driving his legs through congestion. Just couldn't quite break out to the other side, but that'll come with a bit of experience and a bit of development.
Just fly from Thorpe. There's a Collingwood player down and sore behind the ball. Oh, Wilson got caught with it. Gagmalesi Smith goes through. He can't get a clean disposal away. Nice player still a little bit sore as the ball trickles out inside the forward 50. See the replay of that as Poulter slams it toward half forward, and the big rise from Thorpe and the knee in the side there. I think it's Ash Johnson who's a little bit worse for wear. He's getting to his feet now, which is a good sign.
Not exactly what you need in a practice game.
No, not at all.
But when it's your turn to go, unfortunately, you've got to go back with the flight and expose yourself like that in our game.
Remarkable footy journey, Ash Johnson. Halls Creek products from WA, and then played, I think, with Claremont, and then to South Australia to play with Sturt, and just worked his way through the grades. Mid-season draftee by Collingwood for his opportunity after a finger injury ruined his campaign last year. Cameron inside 50 for the Pies, takes it out of the ruck, dispossessed, holding the ball. Hawthorn pressure's been much better here in this second half. D'Angelo wanted to take the free kick, but he's going to have to give it back to Lockie Wind. So Hawthorn with plenty of VFL talent out there at the moment. The reserve side for both of them out there at the moment. After all the stars, including Jamie Elliott, kicked 5 goals early in this game. Jack Ginnivan kicked 3, so too Mason Cox, so too Brody Myercheck. A couple of goals to Dylan Moore for the Hawks. With 18 goals while their A side was out there, and they looked really good earlier on, Steve. They
looked really sharp, just through the middle. Their ball use by foot particularly was really impressive. They just had a really good system up forward. They were working, the forwards were working for each other, creating space. They just looked really dangerous. Elliott looked super fit, just springing back in his legs, creating those half chances, and Brody Myercheck floating around, doing his thing as he usually does. He just always seems to get under the guard of opposition teams when they're putting time and effort into the others. Some of their key targets up forward look really good, and you got the skipper Scott Pendlebury controlling things from the back. He might spend a little bit more time down there, we think, throughout this season, just because they've got such a plethora of options through the middle. Grundy looked good, Taylor Adams doing everything again. So